Hi, this is Mike Queen from WinCNC, and today I want to talk about a program called OptiScout. We support this. This is a vision registration system. This is where you would take a camera and locate registration marks on a print, and that would give you the placement of the item that you're going to cut. And you can see here I can twist this all around and position it, and I'm going to do that here in a minute. First thing I'm going to do though is just leave it straight. I've got this tiny little tool here. It's an 1/8 inch Vbit, very sharp, and I'm going to use that for a pointer. I'm not actually going to cut my paper. I'm going to trace around it with the point on here. After I find these reg marks, it's going to pick 3 of these reg marks and use them for placement. And then after I find 3 of them, it will determine where to lay out my outline for this, and then it will go around and trace over top of that outline with this tool. Then I'll twist it around at an angle and do it again. Wish it was a little smaller because I could get it a lot better angle, but this will do to show you how it works or whatever. So the first thing I want to do is to load the file that I want to use. So I'm just going to go to open file, and I'm going to grab this one and click it, and all this is an outline of the object that I've got down here, of this drawing. And I'm going to use the camera to go around and find 3 of these reg marks, and then OptiScout will know where to place the toolpath for this, and then it will go around and simulate cutting it out. I'm not going to actually cut it out because I want to keep this drawing. So I would normally have set my tool at a real diameter, like a 1/4 inch for an end mill or whatever, and done it that way, but I'm not really going to cut it out, so I set a tool diameter of 0 so it would stay on the line. So I'm happy with that, and the next thing that I want to do is to go ahead and output it to the device. And I'm going to shrink this so that it fits better on here so that you can see all the things that are going on. Pull that back out for a second and turn off these rulers because they're taking up too much of my room. I want to shrink that down to where we can see WinCNC as it's copying, or as it's cutting, or simulating cutting. And so now with this tiny drawing that I have here, you can still see the reg marks, and that's what the camera is going to look for on the drawing. And here's my WinCNC screen. Pull that over just a little bit more, and you should see it draw right here on the screen. Okay, so I want to output this to the file, or to the machine, I'm just going to click output, and we'll come over and look at this, and we'll look at the camera, And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move it to this dot or in that vicinity. And it's closer than it was, so now I'll just take it down. And there is the dot that I want. That's the reg mark. That's a 1/4 inch. That's a 1/4 inch black circle. When that turns green, that means it accepts its position. It knows where it's at. So now you can see that it's going to get this one over here, and this one up here. So I'll go ahead and tell it to accept that. All I've got to do is click this right here. Now it's going to look for the other one, the next one. And it's a little bit off, so I need to move down a little. And there, it accepts that one. Now it should find the third one on its own. And there it did. Perfect. Okay, so now all I've got to do is click run, and we should see it come up and bring the tool somewhere down in this area and start tracing around my drawing here. So I'll click run now, and you can watch it as it goes around. I'm going to lower down right in here somewhere. You can also see it right here as it's drawing. And you can see that it's tracing right around that outline of that dog. When it gets back to here, it'll stop and lift out of the way. Now it's finished, and it was right on the line. Now, if you'll notice right here, he's leaning, and in this one, he's leaning a little bit to the right here. Don't know if you can see it or not, but I think you can. Okay, what I'm going to do now is turn this thing so that it's, if it's going to be anything, it's going to be leaning to the left. And I want to make sure that I can get it over far enough. I want to give it a good lean there. Okay, so I think that's good enough, and you can see that it's no longer straight on my table. It's very much catty-cornered, and that's what I'm trying to get across. And what it's going to do, if it does it right, it's going to trace around it still, even though it's twisted around at an angle. And when you see it finished here, instead of it being straight up and down like this or a little bit to the right, I think the head's going to be over in this area, and it's going to be angled in this direction. And that's the only thing that I did, was move that around. So the camera is going to locate these marks, and then it will know how to locate the drawing, or if it were going to cut this out, it would still be able to trace around these lines and be able to still cut the shape out. And that's the principle of what it's doing here. So again, I want to go to output to device and let the camera do its work. Oh, I've got to Sorry, I've got to select it. Just come over here and go Control A, select it, and now I do that. And now I can output it to the device and output. And I will click here again. Camera comes down in the area, but it's not on because I moved it away. So there's my mark. I'm moving a little bit too fast. So I hit F2, then I can move slowly. Okay, so now it's located that one. It will not find the next one either because I've twisted it. So and that's way off. So I need to move it up some. And a little more. And there's the second one. Now it should find the third one on its own. And it did. And it's ready. And anytime it has that check mark there, that means that it's found it and it accepts that mark. So now all I got to do is click Run. And before I do, remember, this is straight up and down. This is straight up and down. But when it's finished this time, it should be angled over in this direction. Maybe not as drastically as I showed you there, but it's going to be angled to the left instead of to the right, or vertical. So I click Run, and now we'll come down and watch it here. And here, and you can see that it's going down and it's going to trace around it, and you can see that it's still on the marks. It's still following the outline, even though I twisted it around at a pretty severe angle there. It's still tracing right around the outline. You can already see that that he's going to be angled up in this direction. And this is what vision registration does. It finds the reg marks, and then it can turn the G-code file in any direction that it needs to make its cuts. And there it's finished. And as I said, it's very clear that it's angled to the left now. It was angled a little bit to the right, now it's angled to the left. So just to show you that it would do that same cut over again, and I'm going to do the same one over, and now it finds that one. I hit here, should find the next one, and then the next one. Now I've got this thing set on manual, which means that I have to click Run for it to go, and I had to move it to that first spot for it to go. But if I had it on automatic, or on program I think it's called, it would do it by itself. It wouldn't need my help. So I click Run again, and we'll just, again, we'll watch it as it cuts around the shape. You can see that it's tracing right on that outline, and that's what I'm trying to show you. this isn't a professional print. I just drew this one up with my CNC machine. But had it been, it would do it just as well. You can do collar prints. You can cut the things out to put on the walls, cut yard ornaments, whatever you want to do. As long as it's two-dimensional. It doesn't really want to do 3D work. And it's finished. And you can see that he's still leaning to the left there. Okay, last thing I'm going to do is twist it around in the other direction a little. Put it about there, and I'll leave it at that. But the next thing I'm going to do is come up here to my drawing, and I'm going to try to zoom in on this just a little bit so I can get hold of that arrow right there. That's the direction that the cut's going to be in. I think if I click that, it will go in the other direction. So now, instead of it coming around in a counterclockwise cut, it should go in a clockwise trace. So let's see if that happens. So I'm going to pull it back out to where we can see the entire thing. And I'm just going to do the same thing again. Output to device and output. Camera will try to find the mark where it was, but it's not there anymore. When I click the dot, it'll move to where it should have been if I'd still been in the same place, but it's not there anymore. So I've got to move it back, move it up, and we're getting in the area. A little farther up, I believe. Yeah, there it is. If I hit F2, I can get a slow motion. Over, down, over, and there it's on. Now when I click this again, it's going to move over and try to find that other one, but it won't be there either because it's not in the same position that it was. And it doesn't find it, so I do have to move this one down. And there's my mark. And there it's on it, and recognize it. I hit the button, and it'll find the third one on its own. And that's good. And it's ready to run. So I click run. And we will click on CNC and this. And now you can see it's going clockwise instead of counterclockwise. And it's still tracing right on that line. That's how easy it is to change the direction of cut with OptiScout. You can see that my spindle with that tool is tracing right around it. You can also see up here, remember it was angled to the left before. Now it's going to be angled to the right. And the last thing that I'll do is I'll set it up to auto run. And this time, since it already knows where the registration marks are, it should find those and do everything automatically. So that's finished. I come back over here and I will just click output to device again. And this time, instead of manual production, I'm just going to go to production. Click output, camera should go and find the first reg mark and then keep on going. Found the first one. I'm not telling it to do anything now. It's doing this on its own. Even though I have several reg marks on this picture, it only uses 3 of them. So, I mean, that's all that it needs for a shape. Now it's still going to go clockwise, but it's going to trace right around it, the same as it did before. But all of this one's automatic. And now it's finished. And I think that's all I'm going to talk about in this video. Thanks for watching.